Hey, I'm Miche from the Spoonbenders Cafe, and yesterday I made a little video explaining why teaching the inner voice, listening to your inner voice class is so important to me, what it is that I really want to convey to people and help people accomplish in their own lives by being able to hear, and not only hear, but listen to, act on, trust their own inner wisdom. So I said that I would tell a story of how listening to my own inner wisdom helped me save somebody's life. And what I mean, it's a pretty great, incredible story. It was a wonderful, amazing, magical day of my life. And what's so interesting about that is that really the listening, you'll see each step to step to my little voice was not some, big, great big neon sign of, okay, Miche, now go do this or go do that. They were really just little pushes and little inklings and little voices and little feeling compelled to one thing or another that ultimately landed me exactly where I was supposed to be at exactly the right time. So the story is this. I was working full-time. I had been hearing my little voice for some years. I would notice it, usually notice it and then disregard it and go about my business, and occasionally have the opportunity to see, if I'd have listened to it, then this would have worked differently, or I wouldn't have gotten that speeding ticket, or, whatever. But I didn't really give it a whole lot of weight in running my life. So the story is this. I was working full-time as a jeweler. It was December, running my own business, and I was having one of the busiest weeks of my season, trying to get orders done before the holiday. And during the day, I had a call with a friend of mine, and I was sharing some of the other things that I was interested in, some projects I had in mind, and just kind of exciting ideas about making life and the world a better place. And I was kind of admonished or given advice to stop trying to do so many things and be so many wares at once, and to just really stick to being a jeweler, which I was really good at, which was a wonderful thing, and isn't that enough? I got off the phone, and my tendency at that point was to kind of fall into a hole of, see, I'm still not getting it right, I'm not doing it right, because yeah, I'm a good jeweler, I've been doing it for a lot of years, and it still has not been completing that mission that I have believed that I to be on all my life, which, as a 6 or 7 year old, just came up very clearly as save the world. It's true. I've got a lot of plates. I've got a lot of plates that I'm juggling. I've got a lot of desires. I've got a lot of projects that I'm interested in, and they do all take time, and it does get kind of scattered. I don't know which to choose and which to follow and which to set aside. So I'm sending out a prayer that you show me what I'm supposed to be doing. If there's something I'm supposed to be doing, I'm asking you to set it right in front of me and just let me walk right to what you want me to do, and let all the other things that I'm not supposed to be doing or that don't serve a higher purpose, just let them fall away. And I left it at that, and I, went back to my work, and I was still pretty distracted, so I decided to go out on an errand. Didn't really need the errand, but just, kind of felt compelled to leave the studio and do an errand. So I drove across town to pick something up, and I did. Then rather than go back to my studio after the errand, I turned in yet another direction and went to stop at my girlfriend's office to pick up our dog to take her to the dog park for a run, which I had done occasionally, but was not something that I was in the habit of doing as a regular practice. So driving out of my way to pick up the dog, and all this time I'm listening to some CDs that a friend of mine loaned me of a teacher that we had been to a workshop of, and he's talking about allowing grace into your life, and to be open and present to hear what's coming through, and to be paying attention and to ask, which is pretty much what I had just done earlier that day. So still, I'm listening to the CD in the car, and now I've got the dog, and I'm headed to the dog park. And so I'm driving on this particular street at this particular moment, and I happen to look up as I approach an overpass, and I see that there's a young girl standing up on the bridge on the wrong side of the fence. Immediately, I pull over to the side and park my truck and get out and run across the street, and I'm standing under where she's staying, and I just start talking to her. Just talking and trying to find out what was really up for this young woman. And also in there saying to her, I don't know what you went through. I don't know your specifics. I don't know what that was like for you, but I know for myself that I've been struggling with staying here and hanging in this lifetime for most of my life. And I know that it's really painful. And I know that you can do it. It can be done. You can keep going. You can find things that are good, things that feel good in that. And that this is not really an answer. And as I kept talking to her and asking her about her circumstances, I also asked if I could, if it'd be okay with her if I, came up to the overpass, and she was like, no, and then she was like, yes. And so little by little, I went up the steps and walked across the overpass. And the end of that was that she actually agreed to come down and came down into my arms. I was able to talk with her, and I was able to relate to her and to have empathy, and let her know that while I didn't know her exact pain, I understood, and I could see her and hear her in her pain, and then encourage her to come down off of the bridge. What I wasn't able to do at the time was to say, oh, don't worry, you'll get through this, it's going to all be great, another 10 years from now, none of this will even matter. I don't know that any of that's what you're supposed to say to somebody, but I was aware that those were things that I couldn't say, because I was in my 50s, and I'd been struggling already all of my life to want to be here and for it to get better. And yes, sometimes it got better, but I never had hit that, oh, okay, it's, clear sailing now, and life is just great. And so I couldn't say it to her, because that would have just been bullshit coming out of my mouth. So I didn't say it. The healing magic for me, besides the fact that I helped this girl get down off of the fence and hopefully get help and support in her life, was that it was as if I was the adult talking to my own teenage self, saying the things that I might have wanted an adult to say to me, and to let me know, I hear you, I get it, this is hard, this is really hard, and I'm here and I'm listening. And that started a healing for me of my own wounds and my own difficulties growing up, being a teenager, wishing that I was not here. And it also, over the next weeks, made it so clear to me that I really was already on my path. I really was, just by being aware and present and in my life, I was where I was supposed to be. That just simply by listening to my inner wisdoms, my inner inklings, my thoughtful twinklings, to turn left instead of turning right, and to stop at the office instead of go home, things that I could have looked at in a different light and said, oh, you're just trying to waste time, you're procrastinating, but instead just allowing myself to follow my own intuition brought me to a really profound, literally profound place, and allowed me to offer something really important to someone else, and also to myself. And part of why I share this story is to make the point that these were not these big neon sign messages about, you must go down to, Pearl Street and stand at the corner until, 3 o'clock, and your mission will be there, and just stay alert. It doesn't happen like that. Well, maybe for some it does, and I guess I always expected that it would. Instead, it came about as kind of quiet plea to God, to the universe, to help me, guide me where I need to go, and then to just kind of release that and then follow what was in my heart, what was in my mind at the moment. And I followed that right up to the overpass where this young girl was. And it changed my life because I understood that it really is in following my own interests and clarity and sense of being drawn to something that is my path and my mission, and how and where I shine my gift. And that was such a long, difficult journey to get to that understanding, which is really so simple. Not easy to follow, but just really simple, that I know in my heart of hearts where and how and when I'm supposed to be, if there is a supposed to. And so can you. And that's the other piece of why I really want to teach this course and help you pay better attention to whatever you're already saying to yourself, and to learn new ways to engage your own self and hear the responses when you're asking questions.